That's all. I recognized it right away. I was like, I know what that is.
Yeah, I found like a cool print. I needed something red, and I was like, I'll get some shining going on. So yeah, I got that. Yeah, so I just wanted to, yeah, jump on. I don't, I know we've never met, but I just wanted to. I don't know how much you know about me, but I've done literally like the same concept as Legion M, just like in a smaller version. And I came across you guys like, I don't know, Facebook ads and things like that around the time I was doing a Start Engine campaign, which you guys did as well, right? I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Our last round was on Start Engine.
Yeah, and you guys raised 15 mil or something?
Well, we've had 8 rounds of financing. So we've raised about $16 million over 8 rounds.
Wow.
Um, the last one was our biggest raise. It was about 3.8 million. And we're about to launch our next one soon, very soon.
So it's so awesome. So let me introduce you and we'll kind of just kick it off.
Okay.
I know your time's valuable, so I'm thinking we'll talk maybe 30, 45 minutes and then, we'll wind it down. It won't be like crazy long or anything, but
Okay.
I think my audience will like appreciate like the indie film stuff. We could talk about the Man in the White Van, which I'm very curious about as well. Somebody sent me the information on that. I thought that Sean Astin was. I love that he's cast. I assume he's the bad guy.
Oh, well, I'm not going to reveal anything other
Okay,
than
okay.
say that is that is uh boy, I don't even know how to I don't want to mislead anyone. He is not the bad guy in this.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, there
We
was
can talk.
something about it. I don't know how much you want to talk about it. Like, can we talk about it and just not do plot points and things like that?
Yeah, I think from a global perspective, there are certain things that I can definitely talk about, but the reveal that Sean Astin is not the bad guy is probably not going to be a surprise when people start seeing our trailers.
Cool.
Um, so yeah.
Cool. So let me just intro you. So you're Terri Lubaroff, COO of Legion M. So welcome. Thanks for coming on. And so you're in charge of a lot of the creative aspects over there at Legion M.
Yeah, well, we're a small team, so we all work hand in hand, but I do all of our operations, all of our legal, and all of the creative. So it's a big job. We all wear very many hats.
Nice. And so for people who don't know what Legion M is, can you just give us like a brief rundown, please?
Yeah. So Legion M is the world's first fan-owned entertainment company, and it's been built from the ground up to be owned by fans using new equity crowdfunding laws that went into effect in 2016, which allows unaccredited investors to invest in startups for the first time ever. So we were one of the first companies to launch under these new laws. It's been a very awesome 6.5 years. We've had 8 successful rounds of financing. And our theory is it's Legion M with a bar over it, which is the Roman numeral for a million. And so the theory is if we can gain a million investors into our company, that's a million people who become a movable audience who are not only financially invested in all of our projects, but also we hope if we engage everybody correctly, deeply emotionally invested. And that's what Legion M is all about. We're about opening the gates to Hollywood, giving people a peek behind the curtains, allowing them to participate in all of our decision-making processes and productions to the extent that we can on each individual production. And it's been amazing.
Yeah, I love it. It's like the best idea I've ever heard of, like dead serious. So I'm an independent filmmaker myself, and I have a scary mysteries YouTube audience and things like that. And I was like, things are shifting, right? Like Hollywood shifting, everything's changing, and it's one of those things where I've made a couple of films, but I didn't do any marketing for them. I didn't know what to do, but didn't have money, that kind of thing. And I was like, if I could create like you can essentially take Hollywood out of the big picture. Like you can kind of control your own destiny more and more as technology sort of changes.
Totally.
And I just think that's super cool. And you guys are like really leading the way there. So like you guys are a mix, right? Like you mess with Hollywood, but also indie films, right? I mean, like what's the idea there? Like you're not trying to necessarily change Hollywood, but you're just it's more of like a social aspect where these investors can kind of take part in the process.
Well, it's kind of a mashup. We're a Silicon Valley Hollywood mashup. So our two co-founders, Jeff and Paul, started Moby TV back in the early 2000s, and they were streaming media pioneers. They put live streaming television on your phones before we even had smartphones. I don't know if you remember those little phones that were like this big and the screen was this big. So they thought, well, there's something here, and they were the first ones to do it, one of the first ones to do it, which really put them on this path to thinking, how can we change things for the better in Hollywood? And the fans are the most important element in Hollywood. When studios are looking at greenlighting new projects, they're often based on underlying IP. They're often, reboots, remakes, things like that. And while that's very valuable, we're missing a whole new storytelling generation whose projects are not seeing the light of day because it's not based on underlying IP. And so for filmmakers like yourself, especially, being able to find an audience that can connect with the stories that you want to tell is something that Legion M is bringing to the table. So knowing we have a little bit of a built-in audience to protect the investment allows us to make very what Hollywood studios would consider risky bets in terms of what kind of storytelling are we going to do. So as a production company, Legion M does everything a normal production company does. We work in feature films, we work in television, we've published a comic book, we've done VR, we've done live events. Anything that we think fans will connect to, we're open-minded to it. What makes us unique is that when we're doing that, we're constantly engaging with our members and our investors and asking them, hey, would this be something that you would be interested in seeing? Would you pay money to bring your friends and family to see it? And if they say no, we're probably not going to move forward on that project. If
Yeah.
they say yes, then we're all in and we're going to make that project as successful as possible. And that goes for everything from production help all the way through to release and marketing. We have a merch arm. We had a project come out, I think it was 5 years ago now, called Mandy. It's a
Yeah.
Nicolas Cage movie.
I
It's a
love
crazy,
that movie. Love
it's
that
a
movie.
crazy film.
Yeah.
And like the first time I saw it, I kind of whispered to our CEO, oh my God, how are we going to find an audience for this movie? But here we are years and years later, and we're selling Funko Pops of Mandy and Red Miller masks, and it's still as popular today as it was 5 years ago. So that's the kind of like value add we bring to the table. So we're not really competing with Hollywood. We're trying to change the way Hollywood thinks, and
Yeah.
that's kind of the ethos of Legion M.
That's awesome. With Mandy, like, was that something you ran across your investors? I mean, like, I assume you're out searching for scripts and things like that, and then you kind of ask, fans and investors, hey, if we got like Nick Cage in this, like, how does that work? Was it something like that, or were
That
you too young back then? Because I know you guys, it's like 2016, so maybe you were.
Yeah, that one was a little unique. I believe we went out to the investors to say, hey, what do you think about this idea? But we invested in that project after it was shot.
Ah,
It needed more money, and we saw an early cut of it, and it was Elijah Wood's company, Spectre Vision. We had a relationship with Elijah, and we're very excited about the work they were doing. So it was kind of like a mixture of, and back then I think we might have had 3,000 or 5,000 investors. It wasn't that many. We have 35,000 now, so it's a big difference.
yeah.
But we certainly had a constant conversation to say, hey, we're thinking about doing this. What does everybody think about going all in on a movie that Elijah Wood is producing? And people would say, yes, that's awesome. And if in that particular movie, again, it was a huge risk. The movie's crazy.
Yeah.
And the question is, could it ever find an audience? We didn't know, but we believed we believed in the power of Legion M and our investors, and it all worked out.
Yeah, that was like half of what I loved about it. I came across it, whatever, Amazon probably, just saw the cool artwork, saw it was Nick Cage being like a madman, and I was like, all right, I'll try it. And 5 minutes in, I'm like, oh yeah, this is awesome. And it's like a rarity that you don't get from huge studios nowadays because it's too much of a risk. Like they don't want to touch it. But it's awesome to see stuff like that coming out. The other one I was curious about was what was it? Save Yourselves.
But save yourselves.
How'd
Yeah.
that do? Because I came across that as well. I watched it, loved it. And then when you knew I was going to talk to you, I saw that you guys had a hand in that. And I was like, oh, these guys, this is good.
Yeah, well, I love that movie. It's so much fun. We're a Silicon Valley Hollywood mashup, so we do crazy things like build apps to help all of our members and investors scout movies for us at film festivals. So we built this app called Film Scout, and we deployed at various film festivals. And the one we've done it at the most so far has been Sundance. So that year at Sundance, which was right before COVID, by the way, we had all the movies. The way the app works is you can download it on your phone, and we populate all of the movies in the film festival into the app. And then you get to vote on which movie you're most excited about seeing and which movie you think other people will be most excited about seeing. And the results from those votes directly correlate to Rotten Tomatoes scores, much to our surprise.
Yeah.
So Save Yourselves was our winner in Film Scout in 2020. I mean, it won Film Scout. It was the most popular movie. People thought more people would want to see it. The people who were playing Film Scout said that they wanted to see it. And we had been trying to find a movie to work with Bleecker Street on for quite some time. They don't do a lot of genre, and that tends to be our bread and butter. And we had been brainstorming, okay, when you have a movie that's right, let us know. And if we find a movie we think is right, we'll let you know. And Save Yourselves was just the perfect recipe between those two things. That's
Yeah.
how we got involved. We helped with the distribution. We worked with Bleecker Street. We helped with the marketing. And then COVID hit, and we threw everything out the window and figured out, okay, how are we going to do this during COVID, and tried some new stuff. But I think it's a really fun movie.
Yeah.
I have poops everywhere.
Yeah. Do you? Yeah. It's just, yeah. Again, it's just unique. And I just love seeing, fresh ideas, just seemingly random out of nowhere. Have you seen the ad campaign that they're doing for that new movie Smile, where like they just have people body? I love that. I'm like, I got my movie and I'm trying to think of something I could do like that, but that is so perfect. All those creepy people.
Oh my God. It's so funny. So I have a friend who works at Paramount, and I don't know if you are a baseball fan, but during the baseball games last week, they had people in Smile shirts sitting in the audience, just
yeah.
And the press picked it up. They saw it's so creepy. Nobody smiles like that.
All like the blogs I go on and stuff are like, just before it hit that it was for Smile, everyone was like, what's up with this lady in the audience being a freak? So that worked really well. And that's super cool.
That's an interesting movie. I believe they made it for Paramount Plus, but it came in so well they decided to release it theatrically. But that's an example of believing in it in an audience and thinking, okay, an audience is responding to this. Let's give it the wider distribution than it's due, which is amazing. I love hearing stories like that. And for young filmmakers, especially, it's first time filmmaker. It's awesome.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. Yeah, that's
my
awesome.
understanding. Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. Somebody probably came up with the idea, was like, hey, you know what? Like, this movie's pretty good. And if we did this crazy marketing thing, and everyone's like, yes, that's awesome. Yeah, that's cool. So, want to talk a little bit about The Man in the White Van? I was curious about it. you filmed it. When was actual production? Like a year ago, like during COVID?
Yeah, during the height of, yes, was it Delta? I don't even remember the names of the variants at this point. It was a year ago now. So a year ago, last
Yep.
September, October, November. Um, we filmed it in Shreveport,
Hmm.
Louisiana. We filmed it there because we thought no hurricanes could get us, and we were wrong.
You thought hurricane season was over?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's one of those movies that came to us. It was actually someone that I knew, someone that I met on the very first movie I worked on back when I was maybe 21 years old. I worked on this ABC movie of the week that Disney did called Summertime Switch. I was a glorified extra and the production designer's intern. That was my way into the industry.
Yep.
And I met this other kid on the film who was a little bit younger than me, but he was going to USC film school, and we've just always kept in touch and always had the desire to work together. And he sent me this script that was a unique narrative in how he told the story of a serial killer. And we worked on it a little bit just as friends. And I finally said to him, I'd really like to bring this into Legion M formally because I think it's a really good script and it's something that would fit in our wheelhouse. And I brought it in and everybody agreed that it worked. So it came together very quickly and we shot it and we're now in post. And what we discovered is that unique narrative that we're working on is really difficult to achieve. And that's what we've been working on for the past couple of months. We're very close to picture lock and hopefully we'll be delivering it the first of next year.
Nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good. That makes me feel good because I filmed my feature that I'm trying to finish up. Same exact, like we were filming this time last year. I had to get a little extra funding because I didn't get the tax incentive money from the state that I was going to get. So it's taken longer. We filmed in New York State, and when we started the project, it was set up where you could get 25%, tax incentive, crew, cast, the whole thing. They changed it while we were filming, unbeknownst to us. So our bad. But so yeah, so when I tried to get it, I couldn't get it. So it was money I was counting on. But anyway, it's taken a little while, and everybody, all my film friends are like, look, man, it takes, films take a long time, and I'm just so itching to like wrap it up. And I have to keep reminding myself that, it's just the nature of the beast. Like they can take a long time,
Yeah. It feels like the longest labor like ever existed sometimes. But once you're done and you see the final product, it just feels so good to be at that stage. I feel for you. We're not done yet, obviously. I'm still in the middle of labor. Are
Yeah.
you done with that film, or are you still?
We just raised enough money to finish out the post. So it's all picture locked, but now I need color correction, the whole shebang. But so, hopefully that goes smoothly. And I'm kind of aiming for the same sort of release date, like, January of 2023, like just have it done. And then I'm going to do some film festivals and things like that, see how that goes. But at the same time, I also have the Scary Mysteries audience. Like I'm interested in self-distributing, although, it's a little sketchy. So, we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shapes up. But
There's so much more opportunity today to find that audience, even if you don't have a traditional distributor. It's kind of an exciting time for filmmakers to take control of that side of things.
yeah. Was so the Man in the White Van was like Legion M start to finish? Like you guys just because it sounded like some of the move, you have different. Was it start to finish or?
Yeah, we came on board in the development process on that one. We had a financier who financed the entire movie. We had tax credits, of course. And from start to finish, we're on board. And once we deliver the finished version of the film to our sales agents and start the sales process, then the Legion and marketing machine kind of revs up, and we'll take it to Comic Cons. And we have the white van still. We haven't destroyed it yet. So I'm sure we'll be taking it around the country and letting people like take pictures with it and all of those types of things. But my hope is that it'll be released maybe second quarter next year.
Yeah. That's
Um,
exciting. Yeah. I like the title. I've read up a little bit about it from what I could find. You guys started putting out some press, just getting it in people's ears, right? Or
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, we announced our cast. We worked with Sean Astin and Ali Larder, Madison Wolfe, Brett Basinger, Sky Jackson. Just a wonderful cast, especially with those three young women. Just they brought so much to the table in terms of their point of view. And what's interesting about this particular film for us is I'm a fan of serial killer movies, but I do read all the reviews. And there's been a lot of pushback recently about the glorification of the killer.
Yes.
And we're also curious, like, how did their minds work, and why did they do that, and what's their motivation? But there's this whole other side of what happened to the victims.
Mm-hmm.
What happens to those who got away? How do their lives play out after they've experienced something like that? What happens to the families of those who have missing family members who are never found 40 years later? And I can go into this a little bit, but one of Billy Mansfield Jr.'s victims, this is about the serial killer Billy Mansfield, was just identified in July, 40
Mm-hmm.
years after she was killed, and
Yeah.
finally brought closure to her family. And so our movie takes a different tact. We do not glorify the killer. In fact, we never see his face.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really about the other side of things, the victim side of things, and the terror that the victim feels. And we'll see. I'm so excited about doing it that way. It's a different
Yeah.
point, but that's a good example of, Legion M taking a risk on a different kind of narrative storytelling that maybe a studio might not have taken a risk on.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, basically the bulk of we do UFOs and ghost stories, but we do a lot of true crime. And I always try to be conscious of that idea. Because I don't I don't know how else to explain it. There's tons, we're all interested in it. Like there's a lot of people that are interested in just the idea that human beings can be so crazy and that they're a fellow person we walk, side by side with. But yeah, you do got to be careful. Have you seen any bit of Dahmer on Netflix?
Not yet. So I was just talking about it like 5 minutes ago. I'm really looking forward to seeing it. I hear it's really
Be
scary.
be careful. It's the first thing I've watched in forever, and it like made me feel good in the sense to what I was like literally basically sick to my stomach.
Oh, wow.
I'm not. It's super intense, and I was like, oh, good. I'm not like desensitized because I do these stories. But yeah, it's very interesting. It's a huge risk because I think that's gotten some backlash along the lines of what you were talking about. Um, but yeah, when you see it, you'll find out. I'm like 3 episodes in, and I don't know if I'm gonna go back, to be honest, because it's just intense, long scenes of stuff that actually happened. And if you know anything about if you know any of his story, you see these scenes play out, and it's like, whoa, boy, like this is a lot.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, it's like I don't know how to play. Like, yeah, that's an interesting artistic sort of take, but people are also, giving backlash in the sense that it might be a little glorified, but I don't know.
There was another, I think it was called My Best Friend Dahmer a few years ago. Did you see that movie? It
No.
was Jeffrey Dahmer as a young, like, teenager. And as he went into his adulthood and kind of his exploration of his tendencies. And it wasn't as visceral as what you were talking about, but I found it to be so disturbing
Yeah.
because it is real, and it's that peek behind the curtain that you're kind of curious about, but you don't really want to know.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And it's a big difference if it's, fictional versus nonfiction, obviously. But
yeah.
yeah, that's crazy. So what else do you guys have going on? How many like roughly how many movies, I'm just curious, over the years that you guys have started, have you just increased the load that you guys are putting out, or are you still like a small team and kind of trying to focus on, specific projects?
We're still a small team and we've tried to focus on specific projects, but our development slate is increasing exponentially.
Right.
Um, we have another movie currently in post called, and I always get the name wrong, but I'll get it right this time. Nandor, Fodor, and the Talking Mongoose, starring
Okay.
Simon Pegg and Minnie Driver. And it's a period comedy, and it's a true story about a kind of a paranormal investigator who is a skeptic. Like his job is to debunk all of these things that are going on in the world. And he gets wind of this talking mongoose on the Isle of Man. And he decides he's going to go investigate this talking mongoose. And the whole movie is about um, it, what does it mean to be on this earth? Like, how can we prove that we existed? And it's just this lovely, comedic, really existential exploration of the human spirit, and it's lovely. And that's in post right now. Also, it'll probably deliver at the exact same time as Man in the White Van, so it's a little busy in post for us. We're also working on a documentary with William Shatner, and
Mhm.
it's exploring his life not as the captain of the Starship Enterprise, but his life as someone who has, he lived in his truck, he was homeless all the way to he just went into space, and what does that mean to him? So we're kind of exploring his point of view of life coming from someone who's 91 years old and looking back. And we
Awesome.
have another documentary called This Is Not Financial Advice, which is just entering its sales process. And it's all about kind of the meme economy and investing in alternative stocks like Dogecoin and things like that, which is really interesting right now after the crash. So we have a lot of different things going on and a whole slate of television and film projects that we're currently working on. And they range from heavy sci-fi and fantasy genre projects to historical, true, I don't even know the word of it because we're doing it in such a unique way. Again, unique point of view. We have this historical true story that we're working on. I don't even know how to describe it at this point.
Yeah,
It's so
that's all right. No worries.
yeah. So a little of everything.
Yeah, no, it's awesome, man. I like the stuff you have is very cool, and it's exciting that you guys exist. Yeah, it's awesome. One quick question is, do you typically go to film festivals? I'm just curious. Like, is that kind of your route? Like, you like to do that?
Yeah, but most of the films that we work on are film festivals type films, and that's often the first marketing hit that we get for those films, and then we build on that through release when we're doing the marketing piece. So we're almost always at Sundance or South by. Some of our team just got back from Fantastic Fest. If you've ever gone to that one in Austin, it's so much fun.
I've heard about it. I haven't been, but yeah.
Highly recommend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if people, I assume you're always looking for more investors. Like if people want to invest in the company, what should they do?
Well, we don't have a round open right now,
Okay.
but we have a round that's imminent.
Gotcha.
And we'll be back on Start Engine. So I would say check Start Engine in the next few weeks and we'll have
Oh,
a
so
round.
okay, so that's the move. That's how you get the investors on. Got it. You go
Yeah.
through Start Engine, and you're just like, hey, we've done this, and we just keep building on it.
Yeah. So the whole idea is when investors come in, they're investing in the company, and then the company has a slate of projects that we're working on. And that slate of projects over time will result in income and building the company. Our goal is to become a major studio in the next, it's a long-term goal.
Yeah.
100 years from now, we'd love to be a big, humongous studio competing with Disney and, Paramount and places like that. But for now, we're a production company that is doing film, television, comic books, virtual reality, anything that we think can help build our brand and bring in new fans who will be excited about supporting what we're doing and being part of it. And that's one of the most exciting things for us is every time we do a new movie, like even Man in the White Van, we had to source the white van. And the director wanted a very specific van that I was like, I don't know where to find this. And one of the members of our community called me and he said, so I have found 4 vans for you. And I was like, what? We didn't even ask him to do it. He just went out and did it.
Yeah.
And one of those 4 vans was one of the vans that we ended up using, and he repainted it and he did all the mechanical stuff for it. We ended up bringing him to the set. He worked on the film. He ended up working with the stunt team. And now he has this whole new career that he didn't have before. And that's the kind of stuff, I mean, it's just, that's what this is all about. It's truly letting people into the process where they can bring value and find what inspires them.
It's so funny. Like I am so parallel to like what you guys are doing. Like I did the Start Engine. Once I found out equity crowdfunding was a thing, I was like, I've got an audience. I can go off that. I was like, if I can make a movie that is profitable or even just breaks even, like nobody actually like lost money, I'm like, I could do it again, potentially on Start Engine, just go for a bigger budget this time. And one of the investors, my buddy Paul, who I talk to pretty often, turned me on to you guys. And he was like, hey, man, like you should reach out to them and just see if, and I'm like, they're not going to want to talk to me. I was like, I'll do it. And I reached out and you guys were nice enough to be like, yeah, let's chat. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. So, and there's like a lot of stories like that where the investors, come up with ideas and I'm like, oh, yeah, that's pretty good. Like, we should do that. So it's like this little community that we're building. And
it's so awesome.
Yeah, it's so neat. And it's like, especially for somebody, I mean, you probably feel the same thing, but it's like, I'm not alone, like on this island, like making this movie. It's like, there's people to talk to and it's just like a nice, cause I mean, you guys have your company, obviously. So it's bigger, but for me, it's like, it could be like a fairly,
well, it's
wearing so many hats,
Yeah. I mean, you have your built-in focus group. The people who supported your project want it to be a successful project. So you can always go back to them and say, hey, what do you think? And we're not afraid to put something out to our investors and say, hey, what do you think? And have them say, that's not working. And, because of our Silicon Valley background, we like to do things in an iterative process. So if someone says, oh, that's not working, we'll go back and tweak it until it does work. And again, independent filmmakers don't really have that luxury because you have such a limited amount of time and money. But when you have that built-in focus group early, it's so helpful. Yeah. And even like getting the ideas from our investors, we have a really, I don't know if you're on the page, but we have a very robust Facebook group.
Mm-hmm.
And people post ideas in our Facebook group all the time. And, David Baxter is our VP of development. He and I read every idea that comes in, and we have a list of things, these are the books that our people have recommended that we're going to read and figure out if there's anything there. But I was talking about that historical drama that came from our Facebook group. People had the idea. It was a meme. They kept saying, if we're not doing this movie, what are we doing? And we thought we were in a very specific lane of genre. And it was so far outside what we thought they would want us to be doing. But it was like a constant drumbeat of, you must do this project. So another one of our members raised his hand and said, I love this idea so much. I've written a script on it. It won a competition. Would you guys like to read it? We optioned the script. It was a great script. And we're developing that right now into a graphic novel and a screenplay. And it's kind of in the vein of Little Big Man, about this true life hero named Robert Smalls, who was an enslaved person during the Civil War, who stole a Confederate warship and packed it with his friends and family and sailed to freedom. And then was this extraordinary person after, where he was a congressman and he served the country during Reconstruction. And this story has never been told. And we wouldn't have told it if our community didn't insist, like, this must be one of your projects. So they're really guiding us in a way to find new and fresh and different points of view and storytelling that, uh, uh, like, I love the story, but as a company, you're kind of myopic, right? And
Yeah.
they're like, don't do that. There are other things out there. You need to be looking at other things. And they have really been helpful for us to continue to do that type of work.
Yeah. It's so awesome because it's like, you can feel like you're actually building something. And when you go do a project like that, you just have so much more confidence that it's going to be successful. It's almost like, how has this not been the way that it's been done before? Like, you know what I mean? It's almost like what you guys are doing makes the most sense, you know? Um, Granted, unless you're doing like a super $200 million, superhero movie, but no, it's really awesome. That's pretty crazy. But yeah, you just build this community and get their ideas and input, and yeah, you're going to do something that's going to be successful. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. That's what we're all working for, right? It's what kind of stories can we use to inspire people? And yeah, I know it inspires me, but that I'm one person. But if we know it inspires a group of 100,000 people or 1 million people, that's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah,
It's cool.
nice. Um, all right. Well, that was awesome. Thank you. I won't take up too much of your time, but yeah, that was super informative and cool. And I love you guys even more. I'm like, it's so cool. I'm definitely going to invest in you guys when the Start engine comes out for sure. Uh,
Amazing.
yeah.
I'd
So
love to hear more about your projects that you're working on.
yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, the movie I'm doing, it's an angry boy. It's this, story of a kid who it's for my group. It's like a true crime. He starts remembering memories from when he was younger. Doesn't really know that they're his memories, and then he realizes they are, and that he was taken by a cult when he was a young kid, and he goes and seeks revenge because they come after his family. So that was
Oh, cool.
that was kind of a bad explanation, but it's good. But yeah, I mean, I'll once I have stuff to show, I'd love to send you a trailer or something, check it out.
That would be great.
Yeah.
Love that.
Um, so awesome. So yeah, thanks Terri for coming on. I appreciate it. And
Yeah, thank you.
yeah,
So nice to meet you.
yeah, you too. And yeah, best of luck with everything. And yeah, can't wait to see the man in the white van. I feel like it's going to be a good one.
Thank you. I hope so.
Yeah.
Working hard.
All right, Terri, I'll talk to you later. Thank
All right,
you.
Andrew. Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.